Olamede's good for a buck and a touchdown every game now.
What's Olamede's Super Bowl MVP?
Hello world and welcome back to Grid Iron Campbell, the only podcast that puts its money where its mouth is. I'm your host, Rich Ron, and I'm joined by the entire collective, The Disciple, Brett Colson, Donnie, DP Peters, and the resident moose himself, Mo Nawara. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Listeners, rate and review on your podcatcher of choice. I've used this player before, but I got to give some love to my SoCal folks. 5 stars only, like Mark Sanchez. A lot of tough times out here. Shouts to the people up in the Palisades and in Altadena. I know Gridiron Gamble fan and listener Kevin Taylor nearly had to be moved last night because of the fire, so hopefully he is staying safe a little bit north of me. Crazy times. The playoff game this weekend, there's some questions as to whether or not it will actually take place at SoFi Stadium. I don't think the fire can physically get all the way down to Inglewood, but when you have every single EMS resource in the region responding to these fires, making sure that people are getting evacuated and getting to the right place, who knows if they'll be able to safely have a pro football game with all that is required to do so. So I know a statement came out from the league today that the secondary spot would be out in Glendale at the Cardinals Stadium. So we'll keep our eyes on that. I'm sure most of your books will void any bets that were made on this contest, but of course, make sure you check with your book for that information. I think we landed a body blow last week. I'm totally over the regular season. Very happy that it's the playoffs and very excited to get into some of these games. We're not going to do the traditional format. I'm not going to make these guys make picks if they don't have anything behind them, if they don't have any conviction. It kind of is a pointless exercise. So some of these fellas already have bets in their accounts, and there's some other things that maybe we just want to talk out. And that's going to be a much more fruitful exercise than putting an X next to a team because you have to put an X next to a team. And we'll start with a game where people have some opinions on. It's the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. The Chargers are road favorites. I'm seeing a very expensive field goal or an inexpensive 2.5 at a very influential offshore book. Total of 42.5. The majority of the tickets are on the road favorite in this spot. 2 DNPs for both teams all week. Receiver Josh Palmer for the Chargers and guard Shaq Mason for the Texans. And we, like we have all season, like Mo said all the way back in the summer, we are taking the team getting points against a Harbaugh team. We were very confident this year that the Harbaugh team was going to be good as a dog, might be a fade while they were favorites, and we are lining up to do so. And we'll start with Brett, who has the money bet line, plus 136 in his account.
Yeah, I don't bet spreads. I think the price here on LA is too high on the road. I don't understand it. 3-point favorites. What has LA done to deserve this kind of respect? They are 2-5 this year against teams that made the playoffs. Both of those wins came against Denver. Cool. Like what have they shown us to earn this rating? To be 3-point favorites against a team that just rested all of its starters ahead of a home playoff game. I don't get it. And like I know I've been shitting on CJ Stroud all season. He's been awful. And the coaching mismatch here is significant. Like that can't be ignored. But we know what the ceiling is with Stroud. We know it's in there somewhere. And even though he's down 2 receivers, he's got Deontay Johnson out there running routes now. And like that's what CJ needs. Get out there, separate, deliver the ball quickly. How many guys in the league are as good as Deontay Johnson at getting open? Not many. So I don't think the Texans have any shot at getting out of the NFC into the Super Bowl, but this one feels like a really good spot for Houston to win against Harbaugh. Yes, plus 136 on the money line is in my account. I really like the Texans here at home.
Mo, you sent me the Juice 3, but you also sent me the money line as well. So pile on with Houston.
Yeah, I've got some of both. For the listeners, with the legals, we do have 115s at Caesars and MGM, so I don't think that's too bad. I'm fine with that. And yeah, there's some plus 135-ish type numbers out there. I like Brett. I don't have much to add. I mean, Brett pretty much hit on all the points for me. I can't get the chart. I think maybe the Chargers I do deserve to be a road favorite. I can't get close to 3 here, man. I mean, it's just too high for me. Yes, like Brett said, it probably is better coach, better quarterback, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, it's slightly better coach, better quarterback, and they're giving 3 on the road against a very good defense. I mean, this Chargers team, I look at the end of the day and I see 285 yards from Herbert, but then I also see they had 6 points at halftime or something against the Raiders. It's this offense, I don't trust them against a good defense. Say whatever you want about Bobby Slowick and what Houston has done. This is still a very, very good defense. So I think they can keep them in this. And yeah, I mean, just like Brett, I think Deontay Johnson might actually matter here. When you're down to the John Mechie's and Xavier Hutchinsons of the world, Deontay Johnson has to move the needle, right? As long as he's in game shape, this has to be a pretty good addition.
He looked pretty good last week. He only ran 22, played 22 snaps, but I thought he looked great.
Donnie is taking the safe route. You have a little bit of a round robin teaser here that you sent, and we'll start with the Texans side. Donnie, have you placed this bet, or have these gentlemen convinced you that you should just fire the money line here?
This was the money line that I looked at a lot. I would say that I just got a little gun shy, honestly, with the performance of Stroud over the course of the season. Like, he's just not been the Stroud of last year, and he hasn't had that jump that, you know, I guess I'd be comfortable with. But I think these guys made good points and are pushing me over to that side. So yeah, I'll probably dip into the money line a little bit. Ultimately, I just don't think that, like, this Chargers team is the type of team that can really run away from another team. Like, I don't think we've really seen a lot of that. You know, I don't think they play that sort of style. Here they're going to go on the road, you know. And then where I say that I am gun shy as it pertains to Stroud, I also know that I've seen it before with Stroud, which can give me some confidence. Like, I've seen him be good. I've seen him make big plays, move the ball, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, yeah, I like this Texans side a lot. I also think that I saw, maybe it was heard, but I feel like everyone's going to be on the Chargers here, probably partly because the Texans have closed out the season kind of stinkingly, like they've sucked in a lot of spots. So I think people are just going to really pile in on the Chargers, and, you know, that obviously presents a good opportunity for the other side, I think.
Yeah, this isn't bet on the team that looked the worst last week. It's more so, it's kind of like bet on the team that looked the worst on Christmas Day. It's like everybody cannot get past that 2-point performance against the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas Day. Everyone got around their TVs to watch that incredible Beyonce halftime show, and they just haven't forgotten how poor Houston looked in that game. And they're just, I'm trying to make a contrarian case here for the Chargers. And I think what I would say is, if you like the Chargers in this spot, I would say just bet under 42.5, because I don't see very many barn burners with which the Chargers win this game. And by betting the under, you still have outs to winning your bet, even if the Texans are the better team and win and cover in this game. So maybe that's on offer if you think we're all crazy and you like LA. One thing I'm interested in is betting Mixon's over receptions. So I'm seeing over 3.5 at plus 120. The largest line I wanted to bet a ladder, but the largest one I'm seeing is over 4.5 at plus 235. You look at the last couple of matchups that the Chargers played. Madison last week caught 4 balls on 5 targets. 2 weeks prior to that, the week prior was the Patriots, and the Patriots literally, for some reason, don't have a pass catching back on their entire roster. 2 weeks before that, though, Javonte caught 7 balls on 11 targets, and then the Tampa Bay running backs the week prior caught 4 balls on 4 targets. So I think the availability is going to be there. We know Mixon is good in the passing game, and in the event that Deontay Johnson doesn't come online or is unable to play more snaps than he did last week, Mixon will be a pass-catching option out of the backfield for the Texans in this game. We move to Saturday night, where A divisional tilt will take place for the third time this season between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are -9.5. The book I am looking at, I'm also seeing some 8.5s out there. Total of 43.5, a 50-50 ticket split right now. The last time these two teams met, we saw the ass kicking that we thought might be coming the first time, where the Ravens absolutely laid the smackdown on the Steelers. First game, some Tomlin voodoo. The Steelers found a way to do it again. So this is the rubber match between these two teams, and nobody has very strong conviction on this contest. So I'm going to start with a prop that Donnie has listed, and it's a touchdown on the Ravens side of the ball.
Yeah, Mark Andrews, anytime TD, saw +115 out there. I mean, one, Zay Flowers, going to be gone, right? So that's one thing. Two, I love tight ends. Three, Tomlin never seems to cover tight ends, especially really good ones, for whatever stupid reason. He just does that. So I can't have any real confidence in this Steelers team. Like, if you pull back and you look at the whole of their season, you might be able to talk yourself into them being okay, but they have sucked for a month. Like, sucked. I mean, so what am I supposed to expect from this team? I think you're just going to kind of see a lot of stubbornness. You know, that's kind of leading me to the Mark Andrews bet here because, again, Tomlin is the guy who does what he does, never adjusts. So, you know, I think Mark Andrews is going to be able to get his in this spot. And yeah, I mean, I like the Ravens a lot. Now, will they blow them out, or is this going to be another, close AFC North battle? Could be the latter, of course, yes. But I see really no way, shape, or form the Steelers win this game. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Name a bigger rivalry. No, name a bigger rivalry. Geez, name a bigger rivalry than Rich and Talking. Name a bigger rivalry than Mike Tomlin and nickelback or linebacker coverage in the playoffs. We saw an entire decade of Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, all these inside guys absolutely trouncing Mike Tomlin. I should have mentioned off the top, I was trying to format this and add injuries. The big injury here, obviously, is Zay Flowers, who is trending towards not playing. I see he has a questionable tag, but everything I'm seeing is basically saying that he is out for this contest. Cam Hayward has had mud butt the last 2 days. I'm sure he'll get some fluids in his system and suit up and be okay for Pittsburgh come Saturday. Mo, you've got some leans here, but you don't necessarily have a wager, and you are against Donnie in a bit, in a little way, because you're interested in perhaps taking the points here.
Yeah, I just think that if I had to, I would take Pittsburgh just because of market sentiment, voodoo, and the fact that they do tend to be closer than they should be against the Ravens in most cases. I'm more interested in betting the over, though. I was very close to pulling the trigger on the over here. I was surprised how low it was. I mean, isn't this Baltimore team just a stone cold over team? I mean, every week they score 30 points. It's like you just need 14 from the Steelers and you're there. I know the first game was absurdly low scoring between these teams, but the Ravens had like 7 yards per play in that game and just kept fumbling the bag when they got into scoring territory. Part of it was Justin Tucker being horrific. I tend to believe that that's not going to be a factor just because I doubt they're going to try many long field goals in cold weather in the playoffs. I would expect them to be pretty aggressive going for it. And yeah, George Pickens, I mean, we've got to see a better performance than that out of this passing offense this week, right? So I tend to think that we are getting a pretty low number when I think it should be a bit higher here. But yeah, I'd be willing to listen to whatever anybody else has to say on this one. I'm thinking that the line is relatively fair, but I felt like maybe the total was too low.
Well, can I add that this is the second part of my leg? My 7-point teaser. So I wouldn't lay the full, 9.5, but get it down to 2.5. I mean, I really like it.
Yeah, with regards to the total, there's got to be some deflation here because people are seeing AFC North playoffs 31 degrees, right? So they're just, I bet you if you pull up any app and they show you the bar of percentage of bets, like people are probably smashing the under because of what they've seen over the last couple of years. And you bring up George Pickens. Isn't this just the bounce? We talk about who looked the worst. Who looked worse than George Pickens, the guy who only needed 26 yards to get his season total last week, jackass, and got a complete donut, dropping balls, not getting open. So, yeah, this might be the moon balls are going to be there. I mean, you have to. This is the Russell Wilson offense. You have to toss up some moon balls, and the guy in the receiving end, or at least from an attempt standpoint, is going to be George Pickens. So, yeah, I think if you're in a one and done pool, if you want to bet some overs, I think George Pickens is going to be the click this week.
The popular thing that I've heard all week is Justin Fields. That's like all I've heard from a lot of people. I'm not in on it. I'm just bringing it up for topic of conversation.
I think
people are like, Justin Fields anytime TD. Maybe he gets in there somehow. Mike Tomlin didn't want to do it last week, keeping him in the bag. He's going to bring him out this week, possibly. Blah 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 blah.
The only shot they have in this game is Russ move balls. That's it.
For sure, moon balls.
And I think Tomlin has been so desperate these last couple of weeks. I mean, he literally called them a JV team. He said that they were entering into last week in their 3-game skid. He said, we're playing like a JV team. So if that's not an air of desperation, I don't know what is. And he didn't pull the Justin Fields ripcord then. So if he's not going to pull it,
the opposite. I think that's a weapon they only bring out when they're ahead and they're like trying to seal the game and whatnot, 4th and 2. Like that's when I've seen him out there. I don't think he's going to play ever when they're behind.
Yeah, it's almost like a heat check. So yeah, if there's two-way markets, come on, Circa. Where's the two-way market on Justin Fields? Anytime touchdown. All right, let's move to Brett's backyard.
The Bills make me wanna shout.
Brett doesn't have an official play on this game, but you are the Buffalo native. I don't think there's a better first-round matchup you could have asked for than Bo Nix and them boys coming in to Orchard Park. Line is 8.5. Total is 47. What are your thoughts on this contest, Brett?
If I've got to look for this game, it's going to be Bills alternate spread, like minus 20.5, which you can get on DraftKings at plus 355. If this game gets away from Bo Nix, it could get very ugly in his first road playoff game. Extremely tough environment, high pressure. Buffalo could just run away with this game by Nick's turning it over while he's trying to do too much, getting Denver back into the game. I could see this one getting very ugly, but I've seen this many times before in these super wildcard games with the Bills, like against bad teams. And Denver's not a bad team, but against like a bad Miami team, was it last year or 2 years ago against Skylar Thompson?
Dude, Skylar Thompson,
there.
plus 17.5.
So I want nothing to do with this. I will sit back and try to enjoy it on Sunday afternoon and not have any piece of it monetarily.
So I think we might have a classic Chiefs opportunity in this game in that scenario. I think we should be keeping our eyes peeled for Bills live if the Broncos find some way to get out and score early. Because Josh is just such a tour de force that I believe wholeheartedly that he will find a way to get first downs, get the ball down the field, and ultimately get the ball in the end zone. So I think we should have our eyes peeled if there's some random variance at the beginning. Or, I mean, Bo Nix has uncorked some nice ones. If I think I said this perhaps in our DM group with ODB, but the Broncos cap has been, does Marvin Mims have a 90-yard play? If Marvin Mims has a 90-yard play, then the Broncos are going to win the football game. If he doesn't, then they're going to struggle to have any kind of explosive aspect to their passing attack. So that's something to keep your eyes on.
Guy, man. I think I've dropped Marvin Mims in 3 dynasty leagues, and now he's just WR1. He breaks off a 50-yard plus reception for a touchdown every week. That's cool. Thanks.
My favorite look here is the under. My favorite look here is specifically the second half under if the Bills are leading, because the Bills are 21st in situation neutral pace. I think they're 28th in overall pace. if they get ahead, Brady is very happy to cram the ball, run the clock out, and get into the locker room. So I really like second half under if the Bills are leading at halftime, and I have an interest in the under at 47. Mo, you agree? You sent me under 46.5 at the book that you were looking at.
Yeah, it's on the move, I feel like, a bit. It was 47.5, like pretty much across the board early in the week. Starting to see some 46.5s. I think that's right. I don't understand this number. It's just way too high, way higher than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like 44.5 or something. I mean, like you said, it's a Bills as a big favorite, and I expect them to try to run the ball a lot. I don't think Denver is going to have a lot of success. If the Bills are trailing, then yeah, I'm in huge trouble here because Josh Allen can put up points in a hurry. But I don't think that's what's going to be happening here. I think the Bills are going to be up, 20-7 in the third quarter, and they're just going to start taking the air out of the ball. And, we might end up with, some kind of 27-10 type of situation where each team only gets, 2 or 3 possessions down the stretch. And the Bills, they have the offensive line to do it. And Denver has the secondary to limit the bigger plays and keep things a bit more in front of them. And yeah, I mean, it's a rookie quarterback on the road, like Brett said. I don't think Sean Payton is just going to hand Bo Nix the ball and say, win us this game. I think he's going to try to do it with scheme. And frankly, I don't think it's going to work. I like Brett. I expect that there is a strong chance that Buffalo runs away with this one. And in all of those game scripts, I do like the under. So I already fired the under in this one.
I can't think of a game where Patrick Surtain matters less. Because, the Bills don't have a WR1 you need to lock down. They've got, 7 WR3s. It's whoever's open is going to get the ball. So, again, I just don't think this is a good matchup for Denver on either side of the ball.
It's kind of a fishy bet, but there are the lowest point total markets, and I don't think Broncos plus 450 is the worst shout. And on the inverse, ODB, if you're out there, if you think the Broncos can win this game, Bills' lowest scoring team of the weekend at 25-1 might be the angle with which you attack this, because if they win, if the Broncos win, it's probably going to be an ugly, low-scoring affair that they find a way to eke it out. So this is a way to push all your chips in the middle and try to absolutely maximize that outcome. So maybe that is the hedge against all of our Buffalo love on this podcast. Okay, probably the most interesting game for 2 members of the collective is this game on Sunday at 4:30, and it's the Packers traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. This is 4.5 with a total of 45.5. 62% of the tickets are on Philadelphia. Christian Watson is going to be out for this contest, but other than that, no real major injuries to report, unless Jalen Hurts isn't cleared from concussion protocol. That is a big cloud that hangs over this game. Those of you watching on YouTube will see Donnie shaking his head, because I agree that there's absolutely 0.0% chance that Roger Goodell allows this game to kick off without number 1 under center for the EAGLES Eagles. That said, once again, the Moose and the Disciple are both on the road team here. Mo from previous equity, he has Green Bay to win the NFC. And Brett, you've joined him in that venture at plus 950, and you also have Green Bay to win this game at plus 194.
It was plus 950 when I sent that to you 3 hours ago. They're now plus 1200 on DraftKings, so I'm getting another bet down on that. I don't know why that happened, but that's nice. Yeah, as far as this game against the Eagles, I've talked about Green Bay a lot on this podcast. I like this team a lot. I've been a stan for, really the entire season. I think this team is wildly underrated coming into the playoffs as a 7 seed and should not be taken lightly by anybody. This is a team that played the 5th most difficult schedule in the league's most competitive division. They had a great season, 3rd in total DVOA during the regular season. They are very good on both sides of the ball. Better coach here, better quarterback. At the very least, neutral.
Not even a question. Better quarterback. Not even a question. A better quarterback.
Like as bad as Love has looked as of late, with Hurts, it's like this is already not a Jalen Hurts podcast. We don't think he's very good, but we don't know what he's going to look like coming off the concussion. And if the concussion is in the back of his mind while he's on the field, how willing is he going to be as a runner? Like his mobility is what makes him dangerous. And if you take that away, you're left with a quarterback who doesn't trust his pocket, doesn't have patience in the pocket, and doesn't have arm strength to make big throws in that pocket. And even if Hurts does play aggressively, what's his risk of re-injury? Are the Eagles going to tush push with this guy, knowing that he's going to be leaning into 300-pounders on the other side of the ball? Like, if not, that changes the play calling on 2nd and 3rd downs for the Eagles too. So I have major concerns with Hurts here against a defense that ranked 4th in EPA per play. This Packers defense can fly. The obvious concern here is that Saquon just does this by himself, much like he did when these teams played in Week 1 in Brazil. But there are different circumstances coming into this one, and I'm sticking with my priors on the Packers that they can win here more than the market is saying they can, which is around 33% of the time. I think it's probably closer to 40% of the time, given the questions around Hurts and this Eagles offense. So give me the Packers money line at plus 185. What did I send you? 194 on FanDuel? Yeah, 194 on FanDuel.
One of the reasons Saquon got loose in that game was because the Sao Paulo turf was just not ready to host an NFL football game, and the lack of footing is always going to favor the running back in that scenario. You talk about schedule as well. The Eagles, according to DVOA, played the 4th easiest schedule in football this year. So you've got a team that is battle tested against a team that played a bunch of cupcakes and tomato cans. Mo, dump on. I don't think you've gone back to the well. I think you're just holding your Green Bay NFC ticket, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's holding the bag since there's better prices now because of the path they wound up with. Like at that point, there was still a chance they would have had a better seed, easier opponents. That being said, I mean, where Brett says maybe people aren't respecting the Packers, I think they're getting a lot of respect when they're only 4.5-point dogs against what is considered to be a very strong Eagles team. I think you're seeing that right there. And yeah, I have a big concern about Jalen Hurts, like Brett said. Obviously expecting him to play, but what is he going to look like? We have seen some quarterbacks look terrible coming off concussions at times. Brock Purdy, etc. This has been a talking point the last couple of years. There have been some really, really poor performances. So that is a concern for me. How close to 100% is he going to be? My big thing here is it's just going to have to be the Green Bay coaching staff, man. We have got to get Jordan Love on the right track here and get him some easy stuff short, get him some confidence in the shorter stuff so that he is willing to take the safe throws against Vic Fangio's scheme. That is a must when you are facing this defense. You cannot be looking for home runs all the time, and that has been a problem with Jordan Love in the past. He is too willing to go for the big shot when it's not there, and especially with Christian Watson out, I think it's going to be up to the Green Bay staff to put together a coherent plan, but I think they can do it. I mean, this is an offensive staff that I think we all have a lot of confidence in. They've done a very good job, and I think left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, including the market, with their failures in a lot of the big games this year. So I think this team is ready to win a big game, and we will see a good performance out of them after they kind of didn't look that great down the stretch. So I'm not giving up yet on my play. So I feel still pretty decent about it.
Performance after concussion at the quarterback position is something that has been looked at. I just pulled something up to quote from @InjuryExperts with a Z. They must be super cool on Twitter. They did a study looking at passer rating change after concussion. And in the study that they looked at, they used 16 NFL quarterbacks who suffered a concussion since 2022. And of them, based on their their determinations. 33% had a large performance dip. 20% had a mild performance dip. 13 had a mild boost. 6 had a moderate boost, and 6% had no change. So 20% actually, based on variance, did better, but 53% of the quarterbacks they looked at in terms of passer rating, first game back from a concussion, had at least a mild performance dip in production. And this could actually be a scenario where it's maybe a game too early for Hurts. We joked about it off the top, but I mean, it's the playoffs. They're going to roll the guy out there if he can pass any sort of cognitive test. The big thing that worries me, if I were to play devil's advocate in this spot, I do think it is Packers or nothing, is while I think on a down-to-down basis, Jordan Love is better, I am kind of terrified about Jordan Love on the road in a playoff game against Vic Fangio, right? Fangs is a master of zone defense, tons of quarters, a lot of cover 6, and he does that to protect his guys and don't force them to play man. But against the Packers, with no Christian Watson and no real alpha talent on the outside, I think Fangio is going to be able to mix in some man as well and throw a lot at Jordan Love in this spot, which could make it difficult for him to perform on the road in Philadelphia. And we have seen this Eagles team get a lot better as the season has progressed. You also have Jalen Carter up front, which is an absolute nightmare assignment for any interior offensive line. Packers have been great, though. 3rd in adjusted sack rate this season. So I think it's a tough test for Jordan Love. I do think it's Packers or nothing, but I think I'm going to just be a spectator for this game and root for you guys.
I want to ask Mo.
You guys.
I want to ask Mo a question real quick, a process question, because he said he's holding the bag at plus 600 on the Packers. At what price would you consider getting more money down on Green Bay to kind of balance that number a little better?
I mean, 12, I'm listening for sure. I did not know it was all the way up to 12.
I didn't either. That shocked me. It just happened right now.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to add more at like 950 or whatever, but at 12, I might do it. I think I had to get across the bridge at some point here to get my Texans plus bet in, because that one, I need to get over to Caesars basically. So I'm going to be going over there to get that in. So maybe I'll throw a little bit of DK money on there as well.
I think people were surprised to see this Sunday Night Football matchup. It is a rematch of Week 1, a game that half of us had in Survivor correctly, where we all took both of us took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won outright against the rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, making his first start. But it has been a very storied season for the rookie, who is going to collect Rookie of the Year in short order. The Bucs are 3-point favorites in this game. I'm seeing a total of 50.5, and the public is lining up to take the aforementioned Daniels and the formerly racial slurs, formerly football team, now commies. Donnie, let's get you involved, because you have one of your favorite players in the NFL scoring 2 touchdowns, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm praying that there's a certain aspect to this cap that you are going to mention.
I mean, I'm just trying to have fun with it. I don't really have any aspects to the cap. Come on. Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns. Let's go.
But
what do you want me to say?
Who's he going to be lined up against? Who's he going to be lined up against? That's got to be part of the cap.
I don't know. Who cares?
He's more likely to be thrown out of the game than score 2 touchdowns, probably.
Stop.
Marshawn Lattimore week.
Whatever.
And we know Mike Evans likes to show out when Marshawn Lattimore is across from him. 2 touchdowns plus 750. Love the punt. That's a fun one to have on Sunday Night Football.
I mean, I looked at this and I said, if I want to have any inclination to take anytime touchdown with Mike Evans, just bet 2. Like what's the fun in 1? I mean, what's it, plus 105 or something? No, just fire in the 2. Mike Evans has scored plenty of 2 touchdown games in his career. Let's go.
Does he have any playoff?
One of my favorite punts. One of my that was one of the coolest moments ever. Why didn't they quadruple team him though? That's one thing that I don't understand. Don't you have a modicum of pride? I mean, unless they're just cool with it, like they're like, let my guy Mike Evans get the bag. But
No, but
don't
they
you
tried.
just triple team. I don't know. Did they really? Like, as soon as Mike Evans went into motion and was on the slot on the opposite side, like, there was only one route that guy was running, and it was a sprint out route to get 5 yards. Oh, good moment though. That was really fun. One of my favorite punts, by the way, was when I was down in Florida, was if I liked somebody for first touchdown, I would always throw a small stake on first touchdown and then 2 touchdowns in the same game parlay, because why not? Like, if they already hit the first touchdown value, might as well go for like the plus 4,000, plus 5,000 of them scoring a second touchdown later in the game. Mo, we're on opposing sides with our leans with regards to the total in this spot. You have a slight lean towards the over. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see these teams getting many stops, and it's just going to be perfect conditions, man, in Florida. So it's these teams scored 57 or whatever it was the last time. I think that's for a very good reason. Tampa Bay, their secondary is really bad, man. And Washington, I mean, Jaden Daniels has not looked the best of late, but I think he's probably ready for a better game this time out. And he could hardly have a better spot here against this anonymous secondary. And then you have, unless Marshawn Lattimore comes out and just wrecks Mike Evans, but dude, Baker is throwing for 5 touchdowns a week. I mean, I know it's buying high in theory on both, but like the total could honestly be higher and it wouldn't have surprised me. I mean, 50.5 with these offenses and these defenses. I mean, would you even blink if this game was in the 30s both ways?
No, but I still look at it and I still see Dan Quinn, Todd Bowles, first playoff game for Jaden Daniels, first big playoff game, I feel like, for Baker as a favorite. He kind of played a free roll last year against the Lions where he could just go and just let it all hang out. But now you're at home, division winner. I feel like a lot more on the line. And this is a Bucs team where
Tighter
they kind of started
cap.
this. Yeah, this is definitely a squeaky bum lemon booty cap. The Bucs are 31st in neutral situation pace, and it's because they love Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, and they're not afraid to turn in hand. And it's not like Liam Cohen is making the same mistakes as offensive coordinators of the past, where every single Byron Leftwich, just every single 1st and 10 was a plunge into the line. But I think there is some balance to this Bucs offense where it's just not necessarily guaranteed to be a fireworks show. So yeah, I could just see some tightness in this game and the old classic primetime under, in a game where it's listed in the 50s. From a side perspective, I wanted to come into this loving the Commanders, just take the money line and see if they could advance to the next round. But I am very concerned about this defense against a red hot Bucs offense. And I mean, Jalen McMillan, we talk about this in the fantasy space a lot. We talk about rookies ascending at the end of their first year because they're learning to play the position, and then you get some spike weeks toward the end of the season. And man, oh man, when it was absolutely third and gotta have it on a huge play last week, it was Jalen McMillan, not Mike Evans, making the play. And that guy has really stepped into this role in the absence of Chris Godwin. So I don't think there's an outcome in this game that is going to surprise me. That said, I'm rooting for both of these teams. I think both of these teams have the ability to play spoiler next week because of how good these offenses are playing. So I think whoever wins this game, you'll probably be hearing about them from me in some way, shape, or form entering into the divisional round.
Speaking of Jalen McMillan, I think I touted him for 3 straight weeks, anytime touchdown, and he keeps scoring. I don't know if they fixed the lines yet, but I would maybe look at that in a game with a total of 50. If he's still close to plus 200, which was just a stupid line, they were just baking in basically all those early weeks, like you were saying, and just not factoring in, okay, he's in a bigger role now, he's established, the offense has changed, and they kept making him plus 200, and he kept scoring. And then I think they might have finally fixed it last week where he was only like plus 140, but it's definitely something to look for because, like you said, he has a legitimate WR2 role now. That, especially when Cade Otton was out, that was crazy.
All right, the final game, Monday Night Football, potentially out here in LA, potentially in Arizona. It's Vikings at Rams. The Vikings are short road favorites right now. I'm seeing 1 and a total of 48. 64% of the tickets are on the Vikings, who lost out on the 1 seed and the division on the final regular season game at on the road against the Detroit Lions. And I want to tell you guys, I wanted to absolutely love the Rams in this spot. Some post-Lions flu. We've seen that stat all year long about teams that play the Lions, get beat up, and then struggle the following week. We already saw this Rams team win in this spot at home against the Minnesota Vikings. And there's just a part of me that thinks that Sam Darnold was kind of broken a little bit last week. He reverted back to the pumpkin that we know he is in a really tough spot. Yeah, Aaron Glenn did a tremendous job. Yeah, the Lions backups did even better in their assignments to create some tough windows for Sam Darnold. But at the end of the day, there were plays there to be made. There were throws there that could have turned this game and put the Vikings in a position to win. And he just flat out didn't execute. So what are the odds that this guy's just in his head for a week, has to make a road trip in a playoff game, and kind of just stinks it up again against a team that generated a ton of pressure against Minnesota last time? I believe Jared Verse had a sack and a half. Kobe Bryant had a sack in that game. A Rams team that rested all of their key players, basically coming off of a bye. So I'm kind of interested in LA in the spot. Mo, you're kind of interested in the over in the spot.
Yeah, I was going to say, the most interesting part of it, someone's interested in LA. I mean, they have gone from, you can get them minus now. They were plus 2.5 2 days ago. So someone with market influence is shoveling money in on the Rams. So are they sharp? I don't know, but somebody is listening and changing the line right now. Yeah, I don't see too many stops coming with these two teams again, but the other one I expected the total to be high, and it was. This one, it's high, but it's not crazy high. You're looking at 47 indoors with 2 passing offenses that have done quite a bit of damage. That being said, every time I think Matt Stafford is going to do something positive, he completely turns into a pumpkin, fake elite Matt Stafford. So am I actually going to bet this? I don't know. I need the Rams for my future. That was my other NFC bet. I got 30-1 on the Rams. I don't feel great about it. Matt Stafford has had like 1 good game in 6 weeks or something, guys. So I don't feel good about this. I think the Vikings should be favored. I think they're a better team. I think they had a tough game against a very good team on the road. And like you said, Sam Darnold played his worst game of the season. Most likely he's going to bounce back here against a much weaker defense. Now, that being said, last time these two teams played, the Rams legitimately kicked Minnesota's ass. So I don't know what to make of that, but I'm listening because I'm curious what you guys made of that.
Brett, Donnie, anything on this game? Interested to hear. Brett, you're shaking your head over there. You've been a bit of a Viking supporter since the preseason. Is Darnold going to bounce back in a major way?
I didn't like what I saw from him last week. I don't know, man. I mean, this was a hard game to cap too, because I don't know what's going on with, like, where is this game even going to be played? There's just a lot of uncertainty around this one, so I kind of stayed away from it. I don't really have a whole lot.
Other
I'm
thing,
scared
I don't
shitless
trust
of Darnold
in a playoff setting.
I mean, Darnold, he's in the biggest spot of the season, playing for the 1 seed, and he looks like a total pumpkin. So what if that sort of same scenario translates to the playoffs, which are massive? You win, you continue. You lose, you're going home. I mean, that's the worry here.
He was playing against backups too. That's what's worrisome. again, I want to give Glenn his flowers, and I want to give the players their flowers too, because they executed extremely well. But we've seen the Lions defense struggle mightily for several weeks heading into that game. And you've got Justin Jefferson, and you've got KOC drawing it up. And there was just a very strong failure to execute in that spot.
Dude, who was this kid on Jefferson last week?
Amik Robertson? That dude was a washout from the Raiders, bro.
He had him on
came from the mud, man.
last week.
Dude, didn't they play? He said afterwards they played together like in high school or against each other, like going back to high school. They've had all that, rapport.
That's amazing.
Came from the mud, man. That was cool. That was an awesome locker room speech from that guy. The Lions, man. They can't keep... So let's just have a larger conversation. I guess we could bring the Chiefs and Lions. I joked about this, but I think this is a live parlay. If you were to give me 8-1 that neither the Vikings nor Lions win a playoff game, I would take it.
The market is just absolutely gaga again. They moved them ahead of the Chiefs in the Super Bowl futures based on that one game. The Chiefs had been clearly ahead of the Lions before that, and then that one game, the market's all in on the Lions again. One game.
Who are the Lions getting stops against? I don't think people fully realize the amount of very good players that don't... And that's the sick thing too, is that there's like such a dearth of quarterback play in the NFC that perhaps there is a path for them to exist and survive with this defense. But I think the Eagles have such a trench advantage against them, especially with all these backups. And again, I'm going to be very interested in the Bucs or Commies in Detroit. Because they're pass off.
Packers, bro.
What is that face about?
Packers, bro. It's gonna be the Packers.
If the Packers win, I hope I'm rooting for you guys. The Eagles are still good though. And if the Eagles take care of business, I think the Commies. I was looking at the Commies winning the NFC. I put this in Discord. I think the Commies can mess around and make the Super Bowl.
I don't think so.
Dude, they got Goat Olamide. They have got Olamide. Olamide's good for $1 and a touchdown every game now.
Should look at his 2 touchdown. Look at his 2 touchdowns.
Say, what's Olamide's Super Bowl MVP?
There's no way it's lined.
Yeah, they won't let you bet it.
I can't wait for the Packers to be favored as a 7 seed in the NFC Championship, because they will be favored against 3 of the other teams on the other side. They'll be favored against the Rams. They'll be favored against the Commies. They'll be favored against the Bucs. And hell, maybe even the Vikings.
I'm worried.
I mean,
I'm worried about the Lions. I'm worried.
Weren't
about the
they
Lions.
just +1 in Minnesota?
I think the Lions.
I can't be worried about the Lions. I can't do it. Every week they do the same crap. They come out and they just win. It's just, how can you be worried?
Because Campbell he's gonna blow it off again. It's gonna happen.
I don't know.
On the other side of the bracket, they're doing it again. Every single smart person with a microphone, a show, a podcast, a column, a Twitter account. The Ravens are coming out of the AFC, according to everybody. There's not a single person that thinks anybody but the Baltimore Ravens are coming out. The amount of disrespect for Patrick Mahomes is outrageous. Okay? And I think it stinks, Brett, that the Ravens have such, it seems like, a very large mismatch against your Bills. Like, I'm sorry, that just has to be terrifying knowing that they are right around the corner. But what are we doing out here? What are we doing burying Reed and Mahomes again, Mo?
I don't get it, especially when I think Hollywood Brown legitimately helped this offense.
Dude, he matters. He
looked
matters.
solid.
Yes. Their entire speed
That's what
element,
I
everything that they were doing with Rashee at the beginning of the season, everything they wanted that receiver position to be from a speed perspective, you just can plug Hollywood in and do most of that stuff with him.
I keep hearing that the Chiefs aren't as good as they were last year. And defensively, for sure, yes. But look at these weapons they have now on offense. Like, the offense has to be better right now than it was last year, even without Rashee Rice.
And then you got Joe Thuney somehow playing halfway decent at left tackle. That is helping. And Spags always brings his best stuff out in the playoffs. Yeah, I still feel good about the Chiefs. I mean, if anyone doesn't feel good about the Chiefs, I don't understand it, because I think they're playing their best again in January. Try to hide your shock. And I think they're ready to go and just roll at home to the Arrowhead Invitational. And if the Ravens are -1 in Kansas City, I'll have a lot of money on the Chiefs, guys.
Come on, there's no way, right?
The Ravens blow it every year. Every year. Every year they blow it.
This is the season too, because Lamar, I was pretty firmly in the Josh Allen MVP camp, but there was a stat that kind of blew my mind today that Lamar, he broke the passer rating record. I think it was like 144.5, and that's just on top of all the things he does as a runner. Like, I don't think anybody can make a strong argument. I mean, just flip a coin between Lamar and Josh. They both had outstanding seasons this year. So the outcome of that race isn't really going to make a difference to me. Brett, you unmuted.
But is it a team award or is it a player award? Because look at the players Lamar has around him on offense.
That's for sure. And the play caller as well. Like, as a fan of a team with the head coach opening, when Joe Brady was announced of having an interview, I wasn't too keen on that, because he's probably just a Josh Allen merchant.
I think he's been great.
One thing, I'm actually ready to just bet against the Ravens next round if it sounds like Zay Flowers might be out. I mean, I think he might matter. He's the only Ravens pass catcher that you're remotely afraid of. I know that Mark Andrews is solid and he makes plays and he's trustworthy and he's a monster in the red zone, and Rashad Bateman has shown some flashes. These guys are not keeping defensive coordinators up at night, and maybe Zay Flowers isn't either, but he's definitely the most dangerous one. He makes a lot of big plays. I think he matters, and I think if he's not out there, I would be ready to take the Bills.
Teams tell you how they feel through transactions, and the Ravens are a team that went out and traded for Deontay Johnson. Obviously didn't work. It was a complete disaster. But they looked at their receiver room and said, this needs improvement. Let's go get this guy. It didn't work. So they didn't get the help that they thought they needed, and now their WR1, who, like you said, Mo, is probably the only guy with juice on this team, is out for this week and could be out for an extended period of time, which is troublesome for this Ravens passing attack. All right. Super wild card weekend. I'm so happy we're here. There's going to be a stinker or two. There always is. But I feel like we've just been watching meaningless football for multiple weeks, save for that Vikings. I mean, look at that Vikings-Lions game. We knew the stakes. We knew the importance. It was kind of a crappy game at the end of the day. The Lions the Lions dominated that contest, but you can feel a football game when it has stakes, when it has meaning to it. It was different. And we get 6 of those this weekend to see if people can advance on to the divisional round. Follow these guys on Twitter at Mo Nuwarah, NUWWARAH, at Brett Colson, COLLSON, and at Donnie_Peters. I'm at Rich T. Ryan. Best of luck in your betting ventures. Until next week, peace.